Good morning, folks. Kirk and Jason Giordano here. Show you guys how we do some lathing. This particular edition, it's not much, but it takes a lot of skill because there's a lot of things here that are kind of intricate and you really got to keep up to codes in order to do it proper. If you look up there, can you get all the way up there? That's what we had. And what we've done thus far is we've broken it out. We take this little bulldog here and break it out. I don't know if the camera will show this, but we got no paper left here. It's deteriorated. So my job is to tell the folks who own the property, gee, I cannot guarantee this wall here because the paper is deteriorated. Definitely not the first time we've seen this, and it won't be the last. We see this quite often. The house was built in 1920, so it's about 90 years old. Anyway, they said go ahead and do the best you can with it, and we'll watertight it with paint. So going around here, I'll show you another area, thing that was of importance. They said, well, gee, we're going to put a screed here. So he put this temporary piece of wood here, but this is going to come off, and a piece of pressure treated sill is going to go on here. Then what we've done is we've broken out this foundation stucco here because we're going to place this screed on the mud sill. We place it below this mud sill so we don't get any moisture on the mud sill. That's where we're going. And I'll show you something else. If you could walk that way, Jay, and show what we're doing here. Possibly back up, and it's just a small addition. But again, there's a lot of intricate stuff that goes on this addition, and it takes a little bit of skill. We are doing the soffit under here. Now the paper here, well, I'll show you what we're doing here too. Now, we have a mud sill that's directly on the concrete. Now what I've already done is I've taken a couple tubes of Sikaflex polyurethane caulking and I've placed it on the ground here because what we need to do is watertight this. So I'm putting this screed right on top of that Sikaflex polyurethane caulking. And I'll tell you, this stuff here is the best I've ever used as far as a caulking sealing. So we've placed that on there. And then now when it, say they're washing the deck here, they're washing this, water won't go underneath here because it's going to squeeze through these holes. And the fella asked me, he said, well, gee, are you going to break this all out here and tie the stucco in? And I said, heck no, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do here is, I don't want to open a can of worms and start breaking this old stucco out here. So what I've got is, we've got this flashing, which counters the ground, and then this is a J-trim. I've already placed some Sikaflex polyurethane caulking in here, and I'm going to wedge this guy in. Now, I wedge that right in there. Wipe off any slobbers, and that's just perfect. And so what they'll have when we're all said and done is, they'll have a transition here with the stucco, my stucco going to this stucco here. You're not even going to see the transition. You'll see a little piece of metal, but they're going to paint that right there. Then now, of course, I'm going to put a vent in here too. We're going to put a lobular vent. That way, if they're washing, it's not going to get water on the mud sill. And also, if you could show upward, we're going to put soffit mesh on the soffit here. Now, we're just going to go with a traditional 3.4 mesh. We don't have to go self-furred mesh because this is open. And if we just use the regular 3.4, our key will mushroom up here. If it was solid backing, then we'd have to go with the 3.4 self-furred. And of course, last thing I'll point out is our paper has got to cover this wood here. So we bring our paper in and just put a couple of tacks on here, like so. And that way when the water comes down, it hits here and drips off. It doesn't usually go back here. Although we're going to put another piece here to just right here. Anyhow, we'll show you some other steps when we get to that stage. Okay guys, now that I got this drip screed here, and it actually, the caulking kind of came out of the holes there. That's one way to do it. You could do it another way. The contractor said, well gee, why not let's use some Portaflash or some Grace membrane or Vicor. You can do that, but it's not as good in my opinion as the Sikaflex directly on the concrete and the screed over that. That's my method. It's a lot better than that because this can unpeel. Okay, now I don't have my vent in yet. And that's actually, I got to go get that. But I was going to show you something now. Now that we got this screed here and we got all that nasty Sikaflex sticking everywhere, what I'll generally do now is I'll measure this by eye. Say I'll take it to about here. That's more than I need. And my son asked me, my youngest, the other day, how do you always cut your paper so straight, Dad? I'll take my knife here and I'll use this as a template. I'll put it here and I'll go down. So watch this. Now I got a clean cut. He's been watching me do that and he says, man, I can never get them straight like that. Anyhow, so when that's done, now this guy here, I'm going to leave my bottom loose because I have the screed I still want to place in there. So I'm going to put this here and that there. Then I'm going to cut this guy out. I'm going to get rid of this 4 flash. I'm going to cut this out here. Tack that down. Tack that. Then this one here, now remember I've got to put my bend in here, so I'm going to leave this loose. This guy here, get this nasty six-flex out of the way because it makes a mess. I'm going to take my hands here and kind of gouge it right there. Once I got it gouged in there, I take my knife and I got a clean cut. Now here I could place a couple tacks there, and the last thing I'm going to do is mark the studs. Then we go ahead and paper as usual, and then we're going to wire on top of that. Now you see this way, I'm not getting this caulking all over me because I just put it in there, and that stuff, you need gasoline to get it off you. Anyway, we're getting ready to keep papering up. Alright guys, done with most of my soffit mesh, and we always have to overlap soffit mesh by at least a couple inches. Here I've got a little holiday, see where it's spongy here, so I just can bend a piece of soffit mesh. This is 3.4 mesh, and get a staple on here, just like that, so my mud will adhere without it bending. Then I'm going to finish here. Finally I'm going to place corners over everything. I've already pre-bent this. And we want to go like sheetrock, corner to corner. We've got to be on this stud here to on this stud. So what we're going to do is place this guy in here like so, and tap it down. We always want to be on our stud. That's how important a gun is for this kind of work. All right. Next I'm going to put corners on all of this, and here again I'm using 1¼ inch crown staples, but I could use 7/8 for this stuff here to attach it. As long as 7/8 of the leg is into the rafter or the stud itself, we're fine. Okay guys, we're going to conclude where we started off inside this little cubby hole. We've got the Luvular vent now. It works much better than the one with just the plain holes because you're washing inside here and rot out that mud still. He's going to put an electrical outlet on this guy here. We've got our corners here all the way around the perimeter here. The soffit's all done. And if you step back there, Jay, and watch that filled in fish pond, which is like quicksand. I stepped in there. You go up to your knees. Anyhow, the corner aid is here. All the lines, everything is done. There's a lot of work on the rooftop too, but you get the idea. Anyhow, my name's Kirk. I'm with Kirk, Giordano Plastering. Thank you folks for watching. Hopefully you learned some detailed tips on how intricate lathing works.